Oi.
Good afternoon again.
Hello.
Welcome back. Right, so another short video from us.
This is the third one.
Yes. So now we want to discuss again something that is from the first chapter.
Good. And on this, we're going to talk about. Well, there are two ways to think about this. The first is this also is the way the textbook is organized, but also then our lectures, right?
Yeah.
But it also gives you an idea about how the theories, one way to categorize the theories in approaches to the human, to what's called personality theories.
Yeah. So it's a system of categorizing these different theories, and the first tradition, and psychoanalysis then belongs to that and is in some ways synonymous with it, is called depth psychology. And you
Why
can take
depth?
that, yeah, you can take that quite literally. Depth meaning that it theorizes or it posits a kind of interior, literally an inner depth. And that's the unconscious, right? If you think about what Freud means by the unconscious, is that you plunge into the psyche and you find things that is not visible from the outside, is sometimes not even available to your perception. Those are the aspects of another person or yourself that you have and can have no knowledge of. Right?
Do you think we have this depth to I mean, I'm not asking you about, I'm asking all of you, but I gave you can take a shot at this, that we have this depth. You know, the way I read Freud is Freud is fascinating. I mean, he finds this stuff. One moment there's nothing there, and then the word unconscious was already there right before Freud.
Yes, absolutely.
But he takes it and just does something with it. It's there. So depth psychology is about that. That you can have these theoretical concepts to think about what happens to this person who's sitting in front of me. That what they say is not all there is. That behind their words, underneath their words, is something that is invisible to the eye, even the microscope, for instance.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me that's almost like not an answer. That's not a question you can just answer. Like, do people have depth or not? Again, one should probably have some kind of historical analysis. And in that sense, I think Freud is very much a modern psychologist or a modern theorist. And I think something about the context of modern life, like where people, and the same thing, identity becomes a thing. People, you're more than the role you play in society. You're more than the prince, the worker.
That phrase, go find yourself.
Yes,
that's like
suddenly that becomes possible. That's not something that existed before. That's an essential part of modernity.
But isn't that fantastic? Go find yourself.
Yeah.
Where am I? I'm
exactly.
here.
So with Freud, you have this thing then where Freudian theory becomes possible in that kind of world, where suddenly identity becomes a project. It's uncoupled from. You're not just the role you play in the world. You're not just your dad was the shoemaker and you are the shoemaker. You have to invent yourself, find yourself. And in that sense, suddenly I think it becomes possible to think of people as having depth.
Yeah.
And at the same time, so you could say then the next tradition, which they call
it's a reaction to this, right?
Yeah. And you could probably call it
just
surface psychology.
It moves up.
Yeah.
It moves outside of this mind. It
says there's nothing but surface.
Yeah.
What you can see. That's what do they call it?
The behavior is what you see. There's nothing behind behavior. Nothing behind the words, even. And so these are called, what are they called? A part of them is what they call in the book.
Learning theories and behaviorism.
Behaviorism. That's what behavioral kind of psychologists or approaches, and learning theories fit them there because there was nothing, and there was nothing there. Learning put something there. So you are trained. Training is a big thing. You train something, it becomes there. So once again, we're going to be learning about Skinner as part of this behaviorism, big behaviorism. But you will see also, if you start Googling, that many schools, many universities have departments that are called behavioral sciences, so the Department of Behavioral Sciences. So they're taking behavior as data. That's behavior is data, and behavior means basically action. What we do, what we say, how we interact. There's nothing below that. And so that's the second.
Yeah.
That's the second bit.
So then so remember, you have depth, and then you have the second one, which you can call a surface psychology, and then you have a third stream, and they call themselves sometimes the third force.
Yes,
psychology.
they did call it third
Or
force.
humanism, right? They're neither a depth psychology nor a surface psychology. These are theorists who say that humans
Which is
are
funny,
different.
yeah? It's funny because some of them bring in an idea about, people are good.
Yes.
And where does that good lay? It lays somewhere in them, I guess.
It's in, but I think the interesting thing about these theorists, if you read Rogers and so on, is they reject the surfaciness of behaviorism and the reduction of humans to some kind of animal or a machine. But they also reject Freud's idea of a depth, because Freud's depth comes with the fact that you can't know yourself.
Right.
And these guys believe you can know yourself, and that you can be the author of your own life. It's very American in that.
In a positive way, right? They do that. And they're called the humanists because they believe in the human. The humans can do this stuff. By the way, all of these theories, once again, have something to them. I mean, the more you read Rogers was big on empathy, right?
Yeah.
Empathy is a great thing. People, and Rogers had a simple thing, by the way, when he started writing. Remember, he says what he had learned, right, as a therapist, is the act of listening to someone.
Yeah.
Is great. So this show of empathy can change people. Right?
Yeah.
So empathy is something we have to develop. So that's the third school, the third approach, and let's move on quickly to we don't want to make this too long. Right?
And in the fourth one, in this chapter, what is it called?
Socio. They're not called social cultural. What do they call it?
Social-contextual.
Socio-contextual. But other people call it social cultural, right?
Social cultural, contextual.
Contextual.
So these are a way to organize theories that are not purely humanistic, depth, or surface. But I want to say more about, again, it links again with what we discussed about situationism. But it's not about situationism now, but try to take into account very seriously the context in which humans live their lives.
I think you would prefer, probably I would prefer, we call them, well, at least parts of the critical theories, right? Critical approaches.
Theories or
they're great. But anyway,
or cultural historical theories.
Cultural historical theories, but these theories are about...
So someone like Frans Fanon, who we will address.
Yeah.
So Fanon, for example, I think if we link it back to what we discussed around situationism even, would say that psychology talks about context and situation in a very abstract sense. So Fanon says, no, you have to theorize the specific context, which is colonialism, or the feminist would say patriarchy.
Yeah.
You can't just talk about context or
Absolutely.
this situation. It has there's this historically specific...
and then Marx. Don't forget Marx.
Yeah.
Yes.
Capitalism.
Capital.
And they would say that you cannot develop any theory of the person without understanding the forms of personhood and the distortions of personhood that come with these historical conditions.
And you might remember last year I gave a series of lectures, and you also have received another one, where people says culture is a big force. Right? Culture shapes us. We also says something about that. So that's the fourth body of approaches around that, and we'll deal with that in the last lecture.
Yes,
but all of this, of course, when we speak about one, we say some criticism comes from this other one. If you're thinking about socio-contextual, socio-cultural, or critical theories, remember what Freud says. So what do you think about this? So that's where we're going to stop.
And I think just one last thought is that you should. This is a useful way to organize these theories, but it's not perfect. So someone like Erich Fromm, for example, he's in psychoanalysis. He's a Marxist, so he belongs with the social critical ones. But he's also in some ways a humanist. So some of the theories do sort of move across, not in an eclectic sense, but they just incorporate some aspects of all of these things.
So thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you in class, or at least on MS Teams. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Great.